today we're going to take the free SVG file, cut file, PNG sublimation file that I have, and it's for the DAD grilling and golf. And we're going to actually do some wood burning with it today, but a mock wood burning. So stay with me on this one. So you're gonna need a piece of wood or cutting board or whatever you want to use, some vinyl, your scissors, but this is where we're gonna use ammonium chloride and some thickener software. You're gonna need a bowl, hot water, measuring, your weeding tools, and of course your cutting machine, and so on. So what you want to do is you want to go ahead and you can use vinyl, or you can use an Ora mask or Star mask, or whichever way you want to go with it, and then print everything out to the size of the wood or the cutting board or whatever blank you're going to be using. And then once you have that done, go ahead and weed it out. Now mind you, this is a mask or vinyl. You do not need to mirror this or anything else like that. And then once you have it cut out, go ahead and, like I said, weed everything. Make sure you leave a little extra room around your edges, because if you don't, you're probably going to need some tape as well to help adhere it down. So then once you have that done, we're now going to make our thickening recipe, our wood burning recipe. We're actually going to use some, we're actually going to make the material for this one. And what we're doing with it is we're literally going to go through and we're going to need, make a thickening type agent. So you could use the ammonium chloride by itself, but the problem with that is that it tends to leak a little bit more. So what we're doing here is that I actually only used half the recipe, and I'm going to have that in the blog. And it was I used a quarter of a cup of hot water. Then for the thicket recipe, I used 4 teaspoons for that. And then for the ammonium chloride, it was 1.5 teaspoons of that one. Okay, and I threw a little extra in there just to give me a little bit more burning power. Now, again, I just put this in a bowl and a popsicle, and then I'm going to use a popsicle stick to stir it. Now, one of the things on it, I've never tried storing this, so I'm not sure how well, if you made a bigger batch, how well it would hold. So that's why I said I made the recipe quarter. So if I'm throwing something away, I'm not throwing away a whole lot. And then once I have everything in here, I'm going to just mix it up with my popsicle stick, and I'm just going to let it sit for about a minute and go from there. And then while that's sitting for a minute, we're actually going to put our vinyl on our blank. Depending on the vinyl and everything else like that, I probably should have done that first and then mixed everything up, because you know how the crafts go, you just never know how things are going to go, and it might have taken me a little bit longer to put it on. So just kind of a note on there that you might want to do the mixing after you put your vinyl on the wood. Now, this is a really important step, you guys. Don't skip it. Trust me, I've tested things out. Sand your blank, okay? Now, if you're using a cutting board, you might not have to do that, but you might want to do a little tester spot in the back of it. But this is a piece of wood, and if you're not sanding, especially when you're doing any type of painting and masking, you can run into an issue where you're going to get leakage because that wood is not smooth. So take a minute or two just to sand your piece of wood to help make sure that your stencil is going to stay down on your board. And then once that's done, then you can go ahead and we can apply our vinyl. Okay, so now we're going to apply our transfer tape onto the vinyl that we're using. And again, remember I said it could be any type of mask. You could actually use vinyl if you wanted to as well. It doesn't make a difference. If you have something extra, go ahead and use that. I'm trying to figure out my centers. And then once I have that, then I'm going to lay it down on my wood, and I'm going to use my squeegee tool, and I'm going to lay it down. Now, one of the things with your transfer is keep it as flat to the board as possible. And then once you have it on there, really important, make sure you're rubbing it really well to make sure you're getting it seamed, or getting all your seams and everything else like that. Okay, now it's time to put the thickener, the wood burning material that we made, on our blank. I'm just going to use a foam brush. One important thing to remember, a little goes a long way. You do not need a lot of this wood burning DIY material that we're making here. So just go ahead and use the foam brush, and I just went multiple directions just to make sure I had everything. If you have too much, take a little off, but again, you do not need a whole lot in on the board. So go ahead and put it on, make sure you get everything, and you can actually see where you have it and everything else like that. But once you have it set, then we're actually going to let it sit and dry for 30 minutes. And again, that's kind of an important step. You want to let it sit and dry because you can't do your burning until you have it dry. So again, make sure you have everything on, make sure everything's nice and covered, and then you're just going to let it sit 30 minutes until it's dry to the touch and kind of creamy, milky-ish type thing. Okay? Okay, now that we waited our 30 minutes and for our solution to dry, you want to go ahead and remove your vinyl from your wood blank, whatever you're using, and you want to make sure you get all the little pieces out of there so that everything goes ahead and cleans up nice. So clean everything up and make sure you have everything good to go. So this next step tested my patience, and not from that it was difficult or anything else like that, but from the standpoint is I went to go get our heat gun. I went to go get Mr. Crafty Paws heat gun, and that didn't work. So I ended up going to buy a new heat gun, which I thought was really kind of cool because it was battery operated, but that didn't offer enough heat. So all of a sudden I was like, okay, now what do I do? And instead of running back to the store because I wanted to get my project done, I was settled on using my torch. So I went and got my butane torch, and it worked just perfectly. So again, you can use a heat gun. That's really what I was going to show you guys, but because I was having issues with the heat gun, I ended up using the torch and everything. Make sure you're doing it in a well-ventilated area. Probably outside is best. Hint, hint, because you can see smoke is coming off. You could set off your smoke detector, so make sure that you're doing it in a well-ventilated area, and most likely probably outside is best. And so then once you have everything looking the way you want to, you could go ahead and do a light burning on the whole piece if you want, just to give that effect. But today I'm actually going to use the baby wipe and stain it to give it a different effect. So let's finish our project up. I just grabbed some paint. It can be cheap paint, you guys. You could use stain if you want to use stain. Whichever you have on hand and available. I just grabbed some chalk paint that I have and some baby wipes, and I took the paint and just smooched it on the board in a few spots, and then I took the baby wipe and just stained the wood with it. And then I also wiped it to make sure that I had as much of the extras off. If you're going to put edging around it, you don't have to finish it off, but because mine, at this point, I don't know what I'm going to do with it, I just literally went ahead and stained the sides so that you could literally put a hanger on and put it on the wall. You could put it in his fan cave, whatever he has going on, but just wanted to finish it off. So this is our fun project for today.